The president has done it, and now, the Glenn Beck followers and the crazies, they're all running for the hills, running into their gun stores, going, "Give me 35 Bushmasters, 3 cases of ammo, and fill up my tank with gas because I got to find a hilltop someplace to." Well, whatever. It's getting pretty weird. The NRA comes out. This talk about a new low. I mean, this is as low as it gets. Even before the president made his announcement, the NRA started running this ad. They have since pulled it because, so many people were just astounded by the stupidity of it. Here you have a president of the United States, first African-American president of the United States. This guy gets death threats the way I'm looking for some cliche here, but he and in any case, he probably gets dozens to hundreds of them a day. And, we know that there have been at least 8 serious, credible conspiracies that have been broken up by the federal government, by the FBI, to assassinate this guy, to assassinate our president, President Obama. And it's not unreasonable to think that, his own children are at risk. And that's a really different situation from my kids or your kids or, just average kids going to school. I mean, the risk, even given Sandy Hook, the risk of a child dying in school is minute compared to the risk of a child dying in a bathtub. But anyhow, here's what the NRA had to say. Here's their ad.
Are the president's kids more important than yours? Then why is he skeptical about putting armed security in our schools when his kids are protected by armed guards at their school? Mr. Obama demands the wealthy pay their fair share of taxes, but he's just another elitist hypocrite when it comes to a fair share of security. Protection for their kids and gun-free zones for ours.
It's just, so many people, I'm sure, had the exact same response I did. They say, well, why? Why does the president want armed guards for his kids, but not for yours? Because he's the president. Because he's the first African-American president. Because presidents get death threats. Because, come on. I mean, Wayne LaPierre went off on that rant the other day that caused so many people across the nation to go, has he gone off his meds? I mean, the guy's drawing $1 million a year salary from the National Rifle Association. He's a multimillionaire. You would think that he could afford to have a reasonably good psychiatrist. Apparently not. And the NRA has just gone off the edge. So anyhow, what is it that they're all hysterical about? The president called a press conference today to lay out his proposals. There are some things that he can do himself by executive order, functionally very small and limited, because his executive orders have to operate within the boundaries of existing law, bills that have already been passed by Congress. And then there are things that he wants Congress to do. So here is the president, first of all, saying, providing the rationale for all of this. Why is he talking about this? Here he is.
Because while there is no law or set of laws that can prevent every senseless act of violence completely, no piece of legislation that will prevent every tragedy, every act of evil, if there's even one thing we can do to reduce this violence, if there's even one life that can be saved, then we've got an obligation to try.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Now, there will be those who argue, hey, wait a minute, what happened to the risk-benefit analysis? 50,000 people a year die in cars, yet we all have cars. If we could save not just one life, we could save 50 lives if we just did away with cars. But it's a stupid argument. I think the president's point was well taken. And then he goes on to say there's basically 3 things that he's proposing. Here's the first.
We will make it easier to keep guns out of the hands of criminals by strengthening the background check system. We will help schools hire more resource officers if they want them, and develop emergency preparedness plans. We will make sure mental health professionals know their options for reporting threats of violence, even as we acknowledge that someone with a mental illness is far more likely to be a victim of violent crime than the perpetrator.
And that's an important point. Mentally ill people are disproportionately whatever. They are more likely to be victims of crime than to perpetrate it. And he continues his part 2 of what Congress must do.
And while year after year, those who oppose even modest gun safety measures have threatened to defund scientific or medical research into the causes of gun violence, I will direct the Centers for Disease Control to go ahead and study the best ways to reduce it. And Congress should fund research into the effects that violent video games have on young minds. We don't benefit from ignorance.
Well, actually, Republicans do. And Fox News does, and Right Wing Talk Radio does. They benefit tremendously from ignorance. They make money on ignorance. And they get people elected based on ignorance. But we'll let that point stand. So those are the things that the things that he just went through, those are the things that he can do by executive order. Now here's what he needs Congress to do. Here's the first.
If you want to buy a gun, whether it's from a licensed dealer or a private seller, you should at least have to show you are not a felon or somebody legally prohibited from buying one. This is common sense. And an overwhelming majority of Americans agree with us on the need for universal background checks.
So universal background checks, number 1, it's going to have to be passed by Congress. Number 2.
Second, Congress should restore a ban on military-style assault weapons and a 10-round limit for magazines.
And number 3.
And finally, Congress needs to help rather than hinder law enforcement as it does its job. We should get tougher on people who buy guns with the express purpose of turning around and selling them to criminals. And we should severely punish anybody who helps them do this. Since Congress hasn't confirmed a director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms in 6 years, they should confirm Todd Jones, who has been acting, and I will be nominating for the post.
There you go. Again, Republicans for 6 years have been refusing to put a head to ATF because the NRA doesn't like ATF because they regulate the things that the NRA's funders make. By the way, President Obama even managed to drag Ronald Reagan into this. Ronald Reagan, who supported basically an assault weapons ban. Here's the clip.
A majority of Americans agree with us on this. And by the way, so did Ronald Reagan, one of the staunchest defenders of the Second Amendment, who wrote to Congress in 1994 urging them, this is Ronald Reagan speaking, urging them to listen to the American public and to the law enforcement community and support a ban on the further manufacture of military-style assault weapons.
Yeah, so this guy, Larry Pratt, Larry Pratt, this is Eric Pratt, Gun Owners of America. He must be Larry's brother, or maybe that's his legal name. But in any case, he was on Andrea Mitchell's show. He's been on this program a number of times. And he said, well, Reagan only said that because he was getting senile. Sorry, that was 84. He did a pretty good job. Reagan did a pretty good job, when in the debates of 1984 of being coherent and sound of mind and all that kind of thing. I think his Alzheimer's caught up with him in toward the end of his second term. But in any case, so that's the gun nuts answer. Oh wow, Reagan supported. So it seems like there's some pretty straightforward stuff that's on the table here. President Obama had a few other things to say about this. I will share with you afterwards. Where do we go from here? What do we do? How do we deal with this? And why didn't the president take my suggestion of dealing with guns the way we deal with cars? Registration, insurance, license.